If someone told Ethan Walker, a billionaire tech CEO in Manhattan, thought a cleaning woman would change his life forever, he would have laughed, cold, sharp, and calculating. Ethan was a man who didn't believe in fate or miracles, but everything changed the moment he heard the cry. It was a rainy Tuesday morning. The city below buzzed with sirens and honking horns, but Ethan barely noticed. He stood in the penthouse of his glass-walled tower on Fifth Avenue, pacing like a man being hunted. That's the third nanny this month. His voice cracked over the phone. On the other end, his assistant mumbled nervously. She said the baby screamed all night. She couldn't handle it, Mr. Walker. Ethan rubbed his temples. Just hire someone else. I don't care what it costs. I want it handled. He hung up before she could reply. His daughter, Emily, had been crying nonstop for weeks. Ever since Lauren, his wife, had passed away from a sudden aneurysm 3 months earlier. Emily, just 8 months old, seemed inconsolable. She refused bottles, screamed through the night, and cried until her tiny face turned purple. No nanny lasted more than a few days. Downstairs, Grace Taylor, a part-time cleaner assigned by an agency, wiped the marble windows of the living room. She'd been called in for an emergency shift, short notice, high pay, and she needed every dollar. Her grandmother in Maplewood, Vermont, was battling diabetes and heart failure, and Grace was working 3 jobs to cover her meds. The penthouse felt sterile, too perfect. Cold marble, chrome finishes. Ababy shouldn't be raised in a museum, Grace thought. Then the sound hit her like a punch to the chest. A high-pitched, desperate cry, not the usual fussy baby noise, but something raw, animal-like. It made her stop in her tracks. She paused, cloth still in hand. The cry came from upstairs. Her heart told her to ignore it. This wasn't her place. But something in that cry, something ripped her open. She climbed the staircase slowly. The cry grew louder. At the top of the stairs, a nursery door hung ajar. "Hello," she called out. No answer. Grace peeked inside. There she was, a baby girl, red-faced, shaking, soaked in sweat, and sitting in a soiled diaper. Her tiny fist flailed helplessly. Grace hesitated. She'd cleaned hundreds of homes, seen dozens of neglected children, but this felt different. This baby was in agony. "I shouldn't be here," Grace whispered to herself. But she looked him anyway. "Hey, sweetheart." Started okay. She cooed, her voice trembling as much as the baby. She found fresh diapers and a onesie in the dresser with practiced hands, ones that had cared for nieces, cousins, and neighbors' babies in Vermont. She changed the baby, cleaned her up, and picked her up gently. As if by magic, the baby stopped crying. "She just needed someone," Grace whispered, rocking her back and forth and humming a lullaby her grandma used to sing. "Then what the hell do you think you're doing?" Grace froze. A tall man in a dark tailored suit stood in the doorway. His voice was laced with anger, his piercing blue eyes burning with disbelief. "I'm sorry," Grace stammered, still holding Emily. She was crying. No one came. "I couldn't just, that's my daughter," Ethan snapped, stepping forward. "Give her to me." Grace handed Emily over gently. As soon as the babble left her arm, she began screaming again, louder than before. Ethan tried to shush her, bounce her, pat her back, but nothing worked. He stared at Grace, baffled. "She calmed down with you." "How she was soaked?" "Her diaper hadn't been changed." "And she's probably hungry," Grace said quietly. Ethan looked stunned. "You've cared for babies before." Grace nodded. "My cousins and I used to help families back in Maplewood." He hesitated, then held Emily out again. "Her," Grace blinked. "Are you sure?" "Just take her," he said. The moment Emily was back in her arms, her crying stopped. The silence that followed was so complete, it made Ethan feel like Febalding exhaled. What's your name? Heast, watching her like she was something foreign. Grace Taylor. And where are you from? Maplewood, Vermont. A silence hung in the air, thick and tense. Ethan Walker, billionaire widower, broken father, had just been outperformed by a woman in a $12 Target hoodie. Go downstairs, Hesed suddenly. Her bottle's in the kitchen. Grace blinked. Sir, you're already doing more than feed professionals I pay 6 figures for. Just feed her. Grace nodded as she descended the stairs, bottle in one hand, baby in the other. She couldn't shake the feeling that something in her life had just shifted hard and fast. In the kitchen, Grace warmed the bottle, tested it on her wrist, then gently pressed it to Emily's lips. Emily drank. Ethan stood in the doorway, watching as if he were seeing a miracle unfold in real time. The room, the house, even fueled outside, suddenly felt still. What time do you finish your cleaning job today? Ethan asked. An hour or so. When you're done, come to my office. I have a proposal for you. Grace looked up. A proposal. He didn't answer, but Grace could already tell this wasn't going to be about cleaning. Do you think Ethan is truly desperate, or is there something deeper behind his interest in Grace? Grace stood outside Ethan Walker's office door with her hand hovering just above the polished brass handle. The baby was asleep upstairs. The bottle had been finished. The house was finally silent, but inside her chest, her heart was pounding louder than Emily had cried all morning. She knocked once. Come in, came the loud voice from inside. The office was massive, cold stone floors, glass walls overlooking Manhattan. A sleek desk that looked more like a sculpture than furniture. Ethan sat behind it, sleeves rolled up, his expression unreadable. Sit down, he said, motioning to the chair across from him. Grace obeyed, tucking her hands in her lap. She wasn't sure if she was about to be fired, sued, or scolded, but instead he said, I want to offer you a job, a permanent one. As Emily's full-time nanny, she blinked at me. Yes, you. The cleaning companion vouched for you. Sighed, you're responsible, trustworthy, quiet. Hepaused, his eyes narrowing. And for some reason my daughter trusts you. That's not something I've been able to buy with money. Grace sat frozen. Herman was spinning. She came here to wipe windows and scrub floors. Now she was being offered a position inside one of most powerful homes in New York City. I'm not a professional nanny, Mr. Walker, she said carefully. I don't have a degree or certifications or anything. I don't care about degrees, Ethan interrupted. I care that my daughter ate for the first time in days, that she slept, that she didn't cry the second you touched her. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out as the city pulsed below. You'd live here in the staff quarters. Salary $20,000 a month, weekends off, everything covered. Grace nearly choked on air. That was more than her entire year of income combined. But something held her back, a shadow of doubt, a whisper of something deeper. I need to help my grandmother, she said. She's in Vermont. I send money home for her. Medication. She needs surgery. Then let me help you help her, Ethan said, simply turning to face her. That sentence hit her like a wave. No one had ever offered to help her before. Not without strings attached. When would it start? She asked. Tomorrow, she nodded slowly. Then I accept. The next morning, Grace returned with her small suitcase, a single duffel bag, and acquiescent sense of disbelief. A housekeeper showed her to the staff quarters. Their room was cozy, sunlit, with a private bath, luxurious compared to where she'd been crashing in Brooklyn. Later, he funneled her upstairs to Emily's nursery. She doesn't have a routine, he warned. Sheets at random times, barely sleeps. Phyllis Nanny said it was impossible. Grace stepped into the room. Emily was already awake, babbling softly and chewing on the corner of her blanket. "Hello again, sweet girl," Grace whispered. Emily smiled. Grace lifted her up, and Phoebe curled into her chest like she'd been waiting for this moment. "I'm going to give her structure." Grace said, "Babies need rhythm. Boundaries make them feel safe." And so she began. Breakfast at 8, playtime at 10 o'clock, nap at 2, dinner at 6, bedtime with lullabies and a warm bottle. Within 3 days, the change was undeniable. The house no longer echoed with crying, but with soft giggles. Emily played on Pfeffler, babbled as Grace cooked, and even began reaching for Ethan when he came home. He watched from the doorway, insolence. Most evenings, his face, unreadable, arms crossed as he took Ethan possible. His daughter, the one who hadn't smiled in months, was along again. One Thursday evening, Ethan returned earlier than expected. From the kitchen, he heard something unfamiliar. Laughter. Real full-belied baby laughter. He peeked in. Grace had Emily on her hip dancing around the kitchen singing some ridiculous made-up song. About blueberries and bedtime, Phoebe was squealing with joy. "You twa look like you're having fun," Ethan said. Grace jumped. "Oh, I didn't hear you come in." She had a good day. She ate her mashed carrots, napped for 2 hours, and didn't throw anything. So yes, victory. Ethan stepped forward. "Can I hold her?" Grace hesitated, then nodded. He took Emily gently, and for once she didn't cry. She didn't laugh either, but she didn't pull away. She stared at him with curious, cautious eyes. "She seems calmer," he murmured. "She senses when the adult's around." "Her are calm too," Grace replied. That comment landed heavier than she meant. Ethan looked at her. "No one's spoken to him like that in months. Maybe no one's been honest with you." Silence stretched between them. "Thank you," he said softly. Grace nodded and turned back to prepare Emily's bottle, but something had shifted. A ripple in the air between them, a kind of quiet awareness neither dared to name. That night around 11, Felicity experienced a massive blackout. Ethan rushed up the stairs with a flashlight in hand. "Grace, are you okay?" "We're fine," she called from Phoebe's room. Emily was in the bath. "I just get her out." Ethan appeared in theaterway with the phone light illuminating Grace holding a towel wrapped Emily. Her hair damp, cheeks flushed. "Let me help," he said. They moved downstairs, lit a few candles, and sat in the living room as Emily played in her blanket. The flickering light made the penthouse feel different, softer, more human. Ethan sat on Pfeffler beside her. "Do you miss Vermont?" he asked suddenly. Grace looked at him surprised. It was the first personal question he'd ever asked. "Every day, especially. My grandmother, she's not doing well. The doctors say the surgery has to happen soon." Ethan was quiet for a while. "Lauren, my wife, she was sick too. Aneurysm, no signs." One minute we were arguing over baby names, and the next Grace reached out without thinking, placing a hand lightly on his arm. "She must have been amazing," she whispered. "She was the complete opposite of me. Bright, warm. She made people laugh. I was cold, calculated, but she loved me anyway. And then she left me with a baby I didn't know how to care for." "You run it cold," Grace said. "You don't evento me. I know pain when I see it. Some people hurt others because they want to. Others hurt because they're scared to feel again. You're the second kind." Her words stunned him into silence. Emma let out a sleepy coo and rolled onto her side. Ethan looked at Grace in a way that made her breath catch. "What am I afraid of?" he asked, his voice low. "Of letting someone in? Of losing again?" He moved closer, and suddenly there was an auspice between them. His hand brushed her cheek. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Grace shook her head slowly, but then kissed her. Soft, careful, and yet full of something that had been bottled up for far too long. When they pulled it apart, their foreheads remained touching. "This is wrong," Grace murmured. "I know, but it doesn't feel wrong." They sat in silence, lit by candlelight, breathing the same air, unsure what would happen when the power turned. Do you think Ethan is really ready to open his heart again, or is this just loneliness playing tricks on both of them? Comment yes if you believe in second chances or drop I can if you think this might only end in heartbreak. When the lights flickered back on, Grace and Ethan didn't move. Their hands were still lightly touching Emily, snoring softly in her blanket a few feet away, but reality has a way of crashing down quickly, and it did. Ethan stood first, running a hand through his hair, stepping back as if the kiss had never happened. Grace didn't say a word. She just picked up the baby and quietly went to the nursery. The next morning, Ethan was gone before sunrise. There was no note, no explanation. By lunchtime, Grace felt it in her bones. He was retreating. Over the next few days, Ethan barely spoke to her. At night, he stayed in his office. He didn't join them for dinner. It was as if the kiss had been a crack in his armor, and he was desperately welding it shut. 3 weeks passed. The silence between them was unbearable. Grace focused all her attention on Emily, but she felt feared of something unresolved pressing on her chest. Then one Tuesday morning, while deep cleaning the master bedroom, Grace found something she wasn't supposed to. A box buried under old clothes. At the back of Ethan's closet, inside were photographs, letters, and Asmo black phone. Emily had crawled into the room babbling and laughing. She reached for the phone, and before Grace could stop, her little fingers had pressed the screen. It lit up, revealing old videos. One was dated just 2 months ere Lauren died. Grace reached to turn it off. This was private, but Emily tapped it again. The video played. A woman appeared on the screen. Her brown hair pulled back, green eyes, calm, but heavy with sadness. If you're watching this, Lauren said, I'm probably gone. Ethan, I need to tell you the truth. I should have told you sooner, but I was scared. I couldn't get pregnant. I adopted Emily without telling you. I falsified the papers. She's not biologically yours. Grace froze, blood rushing to her ears. She knew she shouldn't be seeing this, but shackled and tear her eyes away. I did it because I fell in love with her the moment I saw her. I was afraid ya wouldn't accept her, but Ethan, please love her. She's yours in every way that matters. The video ended. Grace sat still for a long time. Emily nestled into her lap, unaware that her entire identity had just been called into question. That evening, Grace tried to talk normal, but Ethan noticed her shaking hands at dinner. How she dropped the baby spoon twice. What's going on? He asked. I found something, she said. While cleaning your room? Ethan's jaw tightened. What's your wife's old phone? Emily was playing with it. She hit play on a video. The blood drained from his face. Grace pulled the phone from her pocket and handed it over without a word. Ethan took it, played the video. When I tended, he sat in silence. This isn't true, he finally said. She was confessed. She lied. Ethan Grace sagently. That didn't sound like a lie. You don't know what you're talking about, he snapped. Why? Would you show him this? Are you trying to ruin what is left of my life? I thought you deserved to know the truth. The truth? His voice rose. You barely know me. You think you can show up here and judge my life? Grace stepped back, stunned. You're just a cleaner, a nanny. You think a kiss means anything? It meant nothing. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't come here to manipulate you. I've only ever cared about that little girl. Then you should leave, Ethan said. I don't want to see you again. Grace packed her things in silence. Before leaving, she walked into the nursery. One last time, kissed Emily's forehead, and whispered, I love you. Little one. Best strong. She took the first train out off the city and ended up in Charleston, South Carolina. A quiet ad in a paper told her to the Whitman family, offered her room and board to clean their home. It wasn't much, but it was safe. Days passed, nights passed, but their heart didn't heal. Not really. Back in New York, Ethan fell into chaos. 4 nannies came and went. Emily cried so hard she began to lose weight. One night, desperate, Ethan picked up Lauren's phone and re-watched the video. This time, he listened. Really listened. Then he sent the video to a digital forensics expert. 2 days later, the call came back. The video was real. No edits, no tricks, just truth. He sank into his sofa's chair and stared out at the city, realizing he had screamed at the one person who had only ever tried to help. That night, Emily cried for hours. Ethan tried to hold her, soothe her, feed her. Nothing worked. Finally, as tears streamed down both of their faces, he whispered, "You miss her, don't you? You miss Grace." The next morning, he drove 4 hours to Charleston. He didn't Callahan. He just showed up on the Whitman's porch in the pouring rain. When Grace saw him through the window, she dropped the dish in her hand. She didn't want to open the door, but something in her heart wouldn't let her walk away. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I'm sorry," he said, drenched to the bone. "I was wrong about everything. About Lauren, about you, about Emily. She's not your biological daughter," Grace said. "I don't care," he replied. "She's mine in every way if it matters, and I need your help to fix what I broke." "I'm not coming back to work for you," she said. "I didn't come to ask you to," Ethan said. "I came to ask you to come back as family, if you let me try." Grace stared at him, stunned. "I can't promise I won't mess up again," he said. "But I can promise I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be the man you and Emily deserve." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "It's not that simple." "I know, but I'm here, and I'm not leaving without trying." Grace looked past him toward the car. "Is she here?" "She's in the back seat. She hasn't smiled in weeks." Grace walked past him, opened the door. Emily's tiny eyes lit up at the sight of her. She reached out. Grace lifted her up, held her tight. Phoebe clung to her like she would never let go again. Grace turned back to Ethan. "You want a family?" He nodded. "Then we do it my way. Slow, honest, no more walls." Ethan smiled. Agreed. Months passed. Emily recovered. Grace and Ethan built something quiet, steady, real. On one snowy morning, Emily tugged on Grace's coat and pointed at Ethan. "Daddy," she said. He dropped his coffee. Grace laughed. Later that week, Ethan proposed, not as a boss, but as Eamon finally ready to love again. They married in Vermont under Grace's grandmother's favorite tree. Emily ran through wildflowers, a crown of daisies in her head. They had built their family from brokenness, but it was theirs and it was enough. Do you think Ethan truly redeemed himself in the end? Type 100 in the comments. If you believe in forgiveness and second chances, tell us what country you're watching from. And if this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who still believes in unexpected.